Hi. So I'm doing a video in a place you've never seen before because it needs to be done, but nothing is working out. Neighbors are outside working on their pool, and I got terrible lighting over where I normally take it. So here we are. Here we are. So this is a video I've been wanting to do for a while. 3 tips that really changed the game for me with my twin flame journey. So I've been wanting to do this for a while, and I had 2, but it felt like there should be 3, and I got the 3rd one this morning. I say for a while, it's probably been at least a month, maybe a little bit longer. So let's see if I can get them all here. The first one, I would say this, in the long run, it makes the bigger difference. I don't know that this one did for me like the most impactful, but realizing that it's not about romance. Now, everybody's got some different beliefs on twin flames, so I'm not going to do that here. And even so, there's people that do agree that you're meant to be in a romantic relationship. So just personal opinions aside, it's still getting to that point even is not about the romance. It is a personal journey deep down within you to heal whatever needs to be healed on your own so that you can come together to whatever. Because P.S., you're not done healing when you're reunited. Like, there's just things you can't do on your own that you have to do with them. But when you are at the point when you are ready, or when you are both ready, it really starts with you. So that being said, my next tip is, tip number 2, is realizing, so even though it's about your journey, if you are, most likely you're the feminine in the energies of a twin flame, so you don't have to be a girl necessarily, but you are the feminine typically. You carry a lot of the load in helping them get ready for union. So the second tip is realizing you're on the same team. And that sounds kind of silly, right? But because you're carrying a lot of the load, you still have to work with them. So in my case, I have not seen this person it's been a little over 2 years now, and none of this was ever discussed. We've never been in a relationship. I wouldn't even call us friends, more like acquaintances. So this is all stuff I had to do astrally, which gets into a whole other can of worms, and I have videos on that about how you communicate with spirit and all that. But being able to work with them to heal whatever it is that you can heal apart. Because for a lot of us, this leads to my 3rd tip. We're upset with them for some reason. This is always the case, or for the most part, it's the case. Because if you're not together, you have some reason to be upset, right? So even if they're not like assholes, you're not together. So, right. So you're not happy. So what this also leads to is the human can be distracting. This took me a long time for it to really click. So don't kind of beat yourself up for this one. So you really need to, and it's like I said, it's hard to separate it, to really focus on communicating and working with their soul, their higher self, and not put a lot of stock in how they're acting in the 3D as a human, because those 2 things are very, very different. Okay. Because if you've done this already, or even if you haven't, when you communicate with their higher self, there's no things we would consider bad, right? They're not going to be jerks. They're not going to have an attitude. They're not going to, there's none of that, because there is no such thing, right? And once we get out of 3D, 4D actually, if you want to get technical. So that's kind of how you know, if you can speak with them telepathically, which is hard to confirm until you talk with them again. There might be a little bit of that because you're trying to work stuff out, but really not focusing on what they're doing in the real world, for me, was the biggest game changer, because even though all I had was energetic clearing and, you know, healing emotional wounds and sexual trauma and things like that astrally, I was still kind of like, you know, still not talking, you know. He had a social media thing where I could kind of like comment or something like that, right? But I was pretty much ignored there too. So there's a lot of stuff I felt some kind of way for a while. So all I've had is that, but really being able to focus on that and not worrying about what they're doing over here with us, really was the biggest game changer for me. But it's also the hardest one, right? Once you start doing it and feeling the difference, it feels really good. So it's easier kind of once you get to that place, but it's really hard to separate the two, right? Because that's kind of what this journey is about, right? Like, we're trying to get to that place where we're more like our higher selves. Okay. So we put a lot more pressure on them than, you know, well, we put a lot more pressure on them because we have a hard time looking at ourselves, which is, of course, is part of the Ascension journey. So those are my 3 tips that were the most impactful for me over the last like 3 years. Were realizing it's about you, and that's okay, right? Like, and that's sometimes that's the biggest lesson for us, right? Is to be selfish that way, how to take care of ourselves, how to forgive ourselves, and things of that nature. You know, realizing we are on the same team. So sure, you can be mad at them, right? Like, that's part of the healing, right? Like, you know, but try to go down that rabbit hole and figure out why, right? And a lot of times, if you're like me, where you didn't have the opportunity to discuss anything yet, if you're at a point where you can talk with them in the astral, that's how that gets worked out, okay? And I suspect, as I still haven't had a chance to put this into practice, when similar or when situations come up that follow these different things that you guys have healed together, sorry, it's not on camera, it's more of a test, so you can see that the work you did was, you know, you can see confirmation of the work you did together, even if it was just energetically, rather than like a test where if you fail, then, which could still be the case. But those are my 3 tips. I think I'm starting to ramble now a little bit. So if anybody else has any other ones that were big for them, everybody needs them. Everybody needs to hear what you have to say. So please put them down in the comments, and I will talk with you guys soon. Bye.